So why? I mean, today's discussion is about, does gender equality have a future? We're going to discuss this, in New York for 2 weeks. And it is, I think, important and very timely that we organize this seminar together with our, Freja Forum partners, because this is very important from where we are standing, where we are fighting, where we are struggling for the future of gender equality. I will not take more time for myself, but I would like to introduce, we will have a couple of many speakers, very important speakers from Western Balkans and also from European Union. We have Selma Mustacevic. I'm so sorry for the pronunciations, but she's from Amica Educa Center, Gender Program Coordinator. She's attending from Tuzla, Bosnia-Herzegovina. We have Dushica Semenchenko. She is an expert in research and technological development. She's attending from Belgrade and Serbia. And we have Maya Ashevska. She's the president for Crisis Center for Hope from Skopje, North Macedonia. And we also have Evin Incir from European Parliament. She's from SND group, and she has been supporting our events for a very long time, and we are happy to have her reflections on our discussion for the future of gender equality. So, and we will have a live connection from Tirana, our country coordinator Esmeralda Hoxha will be connecting from Albania, and it will be, I think, a lively discussion from where she's participating as well. So without further introduction, I will give the floor to our colleagues, but I just want to remind you, today is very time, 8th of March is not only a day to celebrate once a year from wherever we are standing, but within this, global context where I am standing, we have so many activists who were worried to come to United States just because of all the, backlash that has been officially, and shamefully being public from global spheres, that the United States is withdrawing from many organizations, from they are withdrawing from Paris Agreement. They are withdrawing from Human Rights Council, World Health Organization, and they also, reviewing their participation to United Nations. The being of United Nations UN Women is now being discussed. It is very important. So when we talk about the future of gender equality, we need to be aware of our, where we are in the system that we are trying to change. So patriarchy is in a huge rise right now, not only through the United States angle, but also in the European Union. The far right is getting stronger in those, Nordic countries included. All the global landscape is not, what we have achieved is being under threat at the moment. I'm coming from Turkey, as you know, and we have been discussing this for a long time, longer than ever, with the far right being in power. So for the last 20 years, with the, with the signs of backlash on gender equality, anti-gender attacks has been very much visible by you all too. We have been collaborating to tackle that on our region to, save Istanbul Convention, for example. You remember we withdrew from Istanbul Convention, but we do not give up on Istanbul Convention. So it is very important to discuss where we are heading together today. So each speaker will have maximum 10 minutes, let's say. So we have 2 rounds. In the first round, we're going to discuss about the progress. I mean, if you want to speak about the progress, you have the floor, but I would also encourage you to speak about the resistance encountered on the ground on gender equality, and how within your organization, within your country, how things have been evolving. What is your future understanding, future of gender equality is very important. So there has been resistance. So how is it resistance is identified? How do you want to, identify resistance within your own terms, within your own country? So it is important to start the key question, what strategies can we use? And we will discuss that at the second round. So first round is about the challenges, the progress, and your reflections on your, future perception of gender equality. Thank you. I'll give the floor to, I think first to Selma. So she's from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I will be happy to give her floor for 10 minutes maximum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Selma Mustacic, and I come from Bosnia and Herzegovina. First of all, happy 8th of March. I and many others still see the 8th of March as a day for fight for women's rights. When we're talking about women's rights, we're talking about the basics: right to vote, right to dignified work, and right to a life without violence. Unfortunately, we only have in practice right to vote, right to dignified work, and right to life without violence. We still have not accomplished. I have to admit that it was very, very hard for me to prepare this speech because the first item was progress in the recent decades. Unfortunately, because of the work I do, and I work directly with women, I am afraid that I'm not seeing a lot of progress on the ground. What we are seeing is we are seeing progress when it comes to legal framework. Position of women, de jure and de facto, is completely different. Bosnia and Herzegovina has made laws on gender equality, prohibition of discrimination. Currently, we have adopted the new changes to the law on the domestic violence, which is very, very important, which means that from now on, when women are issued protection orders, the perpetrators will have to be electronically monitored to prevent from approaching their victims. Why am I saying that that is very important? Is because in Bosnia and Herzegovina, only in the last year, 12 women were killed by their current and former partners. Just in the first 3 months of this year, a woman and her 2 children were strangled by their husband. That's why I'm saying on one side, we are seeing progress when it comes to changing laws, but when it comes to practice, we are seeing completely different situation. Political and economic situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina is extremely complex. And in that complexity, men and women have unequal representation in legislative and executive bodies. All competent bodies at all levels of government, political parties, are required to ensure and encourage equal gender representation in management, decision-making, and representation, but unfortunately, this has not been implemented in practice. The BIH laws continue to fail to ensure women's equal participation in executive bodies. That is why I'm saying we are seeing progress in laws, but we're not seeing progress in practice. We do have a law on gender equality that says lesser represented sex should be represented by at least 41%, but we're not seeing it anywhere. Women in BIH continue to be unrepresented in the labor market, where they face various forms of gender-based discrimination, ranging from sexual harassment to the inability to advance at work. That's why I'm saying it was very difficult for me to talk about progress when I'm not seeing progress. I'm actually seeing us backtracking, especially when it comes to women's role in the workplace, where until recently we have always had equal pays for equal work. But unfortunately, we are adopting modern and Western values where we are now seeing, especially in the private sector, differences between salaries for men and women in the same positions. Today, we are marching in Bosnia and Herzegovina, not just in Tuzla, but in Sarajevo, Zenica, Banja Luka, Mostar, at the same time under the same slogan: I want to live from my work. Women are sick and tired, to say it that way, of doing most of the unpaid work, most housework, from cleaning to cooking to taking care of children or elderly family members, is still primarily women's job and responsibility, which makes it even more difficult for women in BIH to find employment and build a career. Today we are marching for all those women who get terminated because they're pregnant, who are still asked questions about family planning in the job interviews, for all those women who are experiencing discrimination, sexual harassment, and other forms of discrimination. at their jobs on daily basis. This is not something that is an exception to the rule, but that is a rule. So where I'm seeing progress, I'm seeing progress, like I said, in the legal framework, and I'm seeing a lot of young women who are ready to take on the fight. They are aware of their position in our society and they want to change it. Unfortunately, the most noise we get is after another woman is killed. We are still not getting enough noise when it comes to discrimination, sexual harassment, other crimes other than domestic violence. And I have high hopes that that will change. On the topic of resistance encountered on the ground, I have to say that our society is becoming more and more traditional and patriarchal. We've seen changes from the war from the 90s on, where traditional gender roles are being reestablished. I work, like I said, directly with women and young girls. And it's not just my opinion. We have research that is showing the same thing. Young men are becoming more traditional than their fathers, than their grandfathers. We are really seeing backtracking when it comes to that. What especially saddens me is the cases that I encounter when I'm talking to young women who are, in all honesty, asking the question, what did feminism bring to my mother? She's working 8 hours at work, working 8 hours at home, and she can't do it all. That's what young women are asking us today. Like, if she was just married, if she stayed at home, which of course is perfectly reasonable choice, but we want women to have those choices to make. At this point, as to where BIH is heading, I am afraid, and maybe it's the paranoia because, like I said, I work directly with women, that we are all backtracking, not just the Bosnia and Herzegovina, but the Europe, United States. We are seeing patriarchy rising and giving people in this state of insecurity and fear something to blame. And it's the modern world, modern women, women demanding rights. Unfortunately, we are seeing less and less funds for gender issues, less and less openness to discuss gender issues. When it comes to equality, everybody's like, oh, I don't understand. Why are you complaining anymore? Gender equality is here to stay, but I am afraid, and as we've witnessed in countries in Europe, just because we won these rights and it was a hard win, it does not mean that we cannot lose them. I am hopeful, but I am paranoid. So thank you so much for your time.
I'm trying again. Is
Now
it better?
now
Okay.
it's better. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. It was maybe with the speaker. So what I was saying is actually that the times are. I mean, Salma made a very good summary of what we are tackling with, and we now realize the rights we have achieved are under threat in a way that the sand is moving. So we are in this very trembling times that we need to maybe exchange more even to understand how we can actually fight with this system. The signs you have given, Sam, like even the younger generation is asked, the way the questions they ask, and the way the new generation of patriarchy is coming is a very big threat. Thank you so much for signaling that too. Without further, comments, I will give the floor to Dishitsa. She will speak. She will have the floor for Serbia. She'll share her remarks and perception of the situation on gender equality. Did you are here, right?
Okay. Yes.
Please,
Yes. Do you
the
hear?
floor is
Okay.
yours.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm Dušica Sevenchenko, and my scope of interest includes the economic empowerment of women as a precondition of gender equality, as we see it, as well as gender equality in the fields of science, research, and innovation. Because of that, my initial intention was to provide a brief review of women in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Considering considering the new She Figures 2024 results and the current projects of the Association of Business Women in Serbia, where I'm a member of executive board and managing some projects as a partner, for example, in Freja Forum. However, since that would require more time, I will instead discuss some general points regarding the gender equality in Serbia. So when it comes to the social and economic position of women in various areas, there is some improvement and or reduction of the gap. However, there are still problems common to all economies of our region, as a colleague from Bosnia and Herzegovina said, but including the EU, I suppose. There are strategies, laws, and so on. All companies with more than 50 employees, which are medium and large companies, are obliged to implement the yearly gender equality action plans, gender budgeting, and the like, and respected in the financing plans. But positive influence of that is not visible enough. It is prohibitive, however, that the mentality is changing slowly. It happens everywhere. I will rely on the results of the latest research done on the perception of women who are at great risk of discrimination on gender equality in Serbia. That was a quantitative study done last year. The respondents were only women, and it was a gender equality in Serbia, and highlights significant polarization of opinions among women, and identifies key area where discrimination challenges are most pronounced. The results provide insight into the deep inequalities that shape women's everyday lives. But one of the most important findings of the study is polarization of opinions. While 41.7% of women respondents believe that gender equality has been achieved in Serbia, 45, almost 50% think otherwise, indicating different experience and perceptions among women. Moreover, only 4.6% of respondents consider gender equality to be fully realized in Serbia. So attitudes towards gender roles further illustrate this polarization, while 38% of respondents believe that women should primarily fulfill themselves as wives and mothers. 31% oppose this statement. Similarly, 33% of respondents think that men's main role is to be the family breadwinner, whereas 40% reject this idea. This division points to deeply rooted norms and stereotypes that shape the perception of gender roles even among the women themselves. Particularly concerning finding is that many as 51.7% of respondents believe that women make decisions more based on emotions, reinforcing also stereotypes of women as less rational and less suited for leadership positions. Regarding the political participation, women recognize progress but emphasize that their influence remains limited. Women's political power is often symbolic, while key decisions remain in the hands of men. Many women point to a lack of community interest and support for their political engagement, while stereotypes portraying women as emotional or less capable for leading political persist. This underscores that the need to further strengthen women's capacities in politics and education society about the importance of gender equality in decision makings. As a key steps in advancing gender equality, women have been identified as a first, women's economic empowerment. 53.4% of respondents have that opinion. And then gender equality education from an early age, 44.1%. Then consistent enforcement of laws, additionally combating violence against women, and improving the social protection system. That was ranked high among respondents' priorities. That research, which I show to you, clearly underlined the formal rights often do not ensure practical equality in the lives of women in Serbia. So stereotypes, institutional weaknesses, and economic barriers remain key obstacles to achieving gender equality. About something about the future of gender equality, I will say in my next speech. Is it like that? Aslihan.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dushisa, for your contribution. You gave a good picture of the importance of data, and it is very important for us to understand data is also very much lacking, how data is used and how it is actually supporting our landscape. To understand the landscape and how we can use it for good is very important too. And you also show the differences of perception of from whoever you are and from where you look at things. It may different how you identify the stereotypes as well. I think this is a battle that we tackle all around. Some people think that there is, as it was first time discussed at the European Parliament too, that had maybe Evin will later give hint us about that too, that they were claiming there is no issue, there is no inequality between men and women. So it's whoever you are and wherever you stand, your political views also has an impact on that too. So I want to really thank you for your contribution, Dushisa. I will further ado. We will go to the next speaker, Maya. I think Maya is also connected. She is with us from Macedonia.
Hello everyone. Good to see you. I'm very happy to be here on this seminar and talk about this very, very specific subject that we all work on all the time. About North Macedonia, I would say almost the same as Dušica and Selma said before. Even the EU progress report for 2024 said that there was some progress in many areas, including gender equality. But the point is, I think that Selma already said that we have a lot of progress on paper, but in practice is very, very different. We have so many changes made. I was just wondering where to start from. Actually, we had related to the women's participation in the political area. We had the first change we had in 2001 when there was a gender quota adopted, and the first one was that there should be at least 30% included on the electoral list from the underrepresented sex. That was the sentence, let's say. That was not very successful because the electoral lists were filled with women on some places where they could not be voted actually or enter into the parliament. And then the next change was in 2006 when the quota was changed, and it said that every third person on the electoral list should be from the underrepresented sex. That brought actually quite a big change, and we had a large number of the women parliamentarians, members of the parliament. But then again, they were just members of the parliament, but not elected as representatives on high positions, ministries or deputy ministries or whatever. We never had a woman prime minister, for example. But now we have a woman president of the country, for example. Maybe that's a step forward, let's say. Related to other areas, we also had many changes in the laws. We had adopted a law on gender equality. We had adopted a law on equal opportunities for women and men. We adopted many laws that included progressing on gender equality issues. But still, when we speak about implementing those laws in practice, that is very, very different from what is said on paper. I work for the Crisis Center Hope. That's an organization that helps support and protect victims of domestic and gender-based violence. And we are witnessing many, how to say it, not respecting these laws, actually. In 2017, we ratified the Istanbul Convention. We made the National Action Plan, but some things were achieved, many more were not, actually. We have still not adjusted our laws with the Istanbul Convention. So now there are a lot of differences. For example, if there is a woman that is a victim of domestic violence, our law said that she should be taken out of her home, actually from the violent environment, and taken somewhere safe, instead of what is prescribed in the Istanbul Convention, that the perpetrator should be taken away from the home and leave the victim and her children safe at their home. So there are so many women that are even discouraged to report violence just because they think that there are no ways, no institutions, no organizations that can help them to leave that violent environment. And this is actually not the only one reason that they not report, that they don't trust the institutions, but also there are many women that are economically dependent on their partners. There are women that are unemployed, afraid that they will lose their children if they report that their partner is a perpetrator. So they have so many problems that will appear after they report, so they are mostly afraid. And housing is also one of the problems, because if they have no place to go after they leave the environment, they are not encouraged to report violence. There are so many other achievements that we made and progress, but just on paper, that actually really means nothing. I would just mention that, for example, the law on it's a little bit hard to translate it in English. A law on prevention and protection from domestic violence. something like that. Just don't take me by my word, because it's quite difficult to translate it. That was for the first time. It was adopted in 2015. In 2021, it was changed and a new law was adopted. But still, we have many difficulties to when it comes to implementation of the law. Even sometimes we have problems because we cooperate with the Centers for Social Work, for example, as a state institution that should work on these problems. Many times it happens that they just raise their hands and say we can do anything, because they are respecting our laws, and they just find some words that they can catch on and just not continue to proceed with a case to save a woman who is a victim of domestic or gender-based violence, especially if it is just gender-based violence, not domestic. Because if they see that the woman was, let's say, attacked on the street, then they say it was not domestic violence, we cannot proceed with the case. So there are so many things that actually we have just written on paper, but in practice is very, very difficult to say that we have made progress. There was some, I would repeat that again, but still we face many, many difficulties. We are all aware that there are so many things happening with anti-gender movement all over globally, probably. Here in North Macedonia, mostly religious institutions are those who are supporting the anti-gender organizations. Some organizations were making protests against the law on gender equality, because there were some articles in the law that were focused or related to LGBTIQ community. The religious institutions are fighting against this recognition of other genders except male and female sex. And we of course we still need to fight against this movement, because it's quite strong and it is supported, and they are attracting people on their side using children. Usually they're publishing posts on social media saying save your children from this and that, which is connected to the LGBTIQ or gender equality laws or things. I'm sorry. So we have even though we had made some progress, still there is a lot of work that we have to continue working on, and we are all aware that it is not happening overnight, and it's a long fight, and we are going to continue with it. And of course, with the recommendations, I think we will talk about that later, a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maya. You have touched upon so many things, and I would connect this to what Dušica also highlighted. She also talked about the importance of national plans and strategies on paper, but how it is difficult to implement them. And you highlighted through Istanbul Convention as well, through reporting how this women do not have access to, not only trusting to not only the trust, they don't have trust to the system, but also they do not believe in the mechanism that are obliged to protect and prevent them from experiencing violence. So it is also not, I think it's also relevant for online violence too. The forms of violence has been evolving and changing, and the system through Istanbul Convention or with the the mentioned national legislation in Macedonia, North Macedonia, you have said, the system is not enough. The system in itself is maybe the problem. I don't know. It is, I think, important to raise here how these national plans, how this legislation, how these implementation mechanisms are actually designed and strategized. Are women involved are NGOs involved? I mean, in our case in Turkey, I can easily say the consultation processes are not inclusive enough. It's not intersectional enough. It is, it is quite important to bring all those within their differences together when we are, writing the strategies and plans, and the implementation is multifaceted. There are so many different layers when to implementation comes. So thank you, thanks a lot.
If I may just
Please.
jump in shortly. Yes, that's true, because it's not quite inclusive, the consultation process, and not many civil society organizations are included. Mostly they are lawyers, and mostly they are men.
I think this is very important to highlight that. Thanks a lot, Maya. Also, you have mentioned the growing anti-gender attacks and how it is fed through this religious rhetoric, but also, patriarchal system is not recognizing LGBTI plus community. In Turkey we have been highlighting. I will give the floor now to Evin Incir, but when it comes to Evin Incir, I always have my sentiments go to Istanbul Convention, her role on the report of Istanbul Convention and the EU directive, fought for many women organizations, LGBTI plus organizations as well. It has been a quite important journey for us. And now from where we are standing, like in Turkey, we have highlighted how it was a devastating decision to withdraw. But we were saying it's just the beginning. The anti-gender attacks in Turkey and globally will continue. And unfortunately, we are here in this, corner that we are experiencing wherever we are standing from. The attacks are growing. Right now in Turkey, it is the year of the family. It is declared that 2025 is the year for the family. And there is a new legislation proposal. It's a draft law, attacking LGBTI plus community, and it is quite disturbing. So it's actually targeting LGBTI plus community by expressing like how they would be penalized in the public spaces, how there will be legal procedures regarding the gender affirmation processes and so forth. So this is the signs as alarming. So Evin Incir, I know in the European Parliament too, the new era is not as promising as it is. We will be happy to hear your perception. You are coming from Social Democrats, and you have you are one of the supporters of our journey. So how we can support you is also very important. So it is very timely to have your voice. And also I will be happy to hear also your understanding on this EU anti-discrimination legislation, which was at the table, and we have learned in February 12th that it was going to be withdrew because of the less ownership is on the table by the member states, I think. And there are certain countries, I think, like Germany, who is not supporting this anti-discrimination law, as well, and many others maybe. I'll give you the floor, and this is very important to have this insider look and how we can support you in the parliament as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Asliana, and thank you very much for the invitation. I just need to say I need to go around 11, and will try to be short. It is, of course, the issue of gender equality, issue of feminism, the issue of, where we are and we are heading to is very, very important with everything that is happening. It was important before, but it becomes even more important, and the right word might even be alarming. Alarming in the sense of the development that we are seeing right now. I can, first of all, say that I fully subscribe to what has been said also before on that we see different things that are happening. On one hand, we see legislative frameworks on positive development being created, that is, during the last mandate, not at least. In the sense of that we adopted the first, and historical in that sense, directive, which is a certain kind of legislation on an EU level, on preventing and combating violence against women and domestic violence in the European Union. We also adopted EU ratifying the Istanbul Convention. However, it is important to have in mind that when we talk about EU has now ratified the Istanbul Convention, it has not really ratified the whole Istanbul Convention. It's just a small part of it, which is the exclusive competence of the European Union in some of the fields where European Union, that is, have competence. However, nevertheless, even if it's not the whole convention, it is an important step forward, and it was an important signal that was being sent. But this doesn't mean that the struggle for the ratification of Istanbul Convention is fulfilled, but rather than those, I don't remember by heart now, it was 5 or 6 member states still in the European Union who hasn't ratified it. We still need to work on them ratifying it to ensure that the whole Istanbul Convention is applied on all of the women in the whole European Union. So some steps were taken, but many steps, unfortunately, are yet to be taken. But nevertheless, it's like my co-rapporteur, Frances Fitzgerald. She was an Irish MEP. Now she's not MEP anymore, belonging to the centre-right group EPP, and I must say that I'm glad I had her and not anyone else from the centre-right group, because when I got to know that we're going to be 2 people leading the work in the European Parliament, and one of them will be from the EPP, I was very worried who that person would be. If it wasn't Frances, who is a progressive woman and former Minister of Justice and so on, I'm afraid that I might have had to deal with a conservative woman instead. So in that sense, I was very glad that me and Frances were able to join forces and ensure a broad majority for this directive on combating violence against women and domestic violence. We had a huge fight, and we also, of course, all those steps that we were able to push for was thanks to the work that has already been done before us by women, generations of women before us, civil society organizations who had fought for this directive to even be to be put on the table for over 30 years. That shows how long time it takes for women's rights to be heard. But we also wanted to have it stronger than it became in the end. We, among others, we want to include there were 2 big things that me and Frances wanted to include. One was the equality model as regards to the issue of prostitution. The second is consent-based rape legislation. So all sexual interactions must be based on consent. What I think, knew when we went into the discussions was that when it comes to prostitution, it will become a huge debate, not because, unfortunately, not because of conservative women, but rather because of some progressive women. The Liberal and the Green group in the European Parliament said that if we force that through, they will consider to vote down the whole piece of legislation on combating violence against women and domestic violence, which I think it's a shame that progressives or any woman can even have that in mind, that prostitution is something you choose. That were their view on it, that it's about sexual liberty. I think we already know, so I'm preaching for the choir maybe, but if that was the case, we would not have seen over 97, 98% of those who are in prostitution being women. Majority of them belonging to vulnerable groups as migrants. Significant amount trans women, etc., etc., etc. So we wouldn't have seen that most of those, almost all of those are women, and many of them belonging to even more vulnerable groups, to have this intersectional perspective also in mind. We decided that, okay, we put the equality model aside, but we managed to include that all the member states have an obligation to offer exit programs for women in prostitution. So that was at least one step forward. The second was the issue of consent. And there we had a huge majority among those that we traditionally we will say are feminists, so progressive women and women who believe in gender equality, even though I don't understand how some of the same women think that prostitution is a matter of will. But where we had the hugest backlash or hugest amount of people who were actually saying no to the proposal of consent was not in the parliament, but it was actually among the member states. And I usually say, maybe some of you have already heard it, but there was actually, it was a coalition of three men, an unholy coalition. One, Orban in Hungary, which of course we expect something like this from, but these other two I was not expecting it from. One was Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and the second one was Minister of Justice Bushman back then of Germany, and both of them are liberal men. Those three together constituted what is called a blocking minority in the European member states. So they can block the member states, or if you want to call it the council, to push for that. And those we negotiated in the council are those who have the presidency. First, it was the Swedes. The Swedes, I've heard, didn't do anything. Basically anything. This came from people in the council and the commission to push for a consent-based rape legislation. They gave it up very easily. So when the Spanish took over after, Spanish said it was challenging for them because they really wanted to have the consent-based rape legislation, and they made a few push. And then came the Belgian presidency, who they were happy that we were taking out the equality model, the issue of prostitution, because in Belgium you can see, I mean, across the European Parliament there is a small hotel called Hotel Intime. Everybody knows what's happening in Hotel Intime. You can hire rooms per hour. But they were in favor of the consent, at least. They also tried to make one more push, but it was not possible because the first stand of the council was already made during the Swedish presidency. So in the end, we came to the end of this legislation. So this was spring 2024 last year. And we had two options. One is we're going to continue fighting through the next legislation, or the second was we need to adopt it now. Me and Francis talked a lot, and we talked to some other also, of course, in the parliament, and we came to the conclusion we need to adopt it now because we don't know what will happen in the next mandate. If we postpone it to the next mandate, that is this mandate, this will not, even as it was adopted, might not be adopted. With this said, and to conclude, is that we adopted it. There was some women's organization, very few though, who made some demonstrations outside and said no legislation without consent-based rape legislation. And to be honest, I get pissed off. Sorry, my English. Not that I didn't think the same. It was that they made efforts that I think, of course, all of us wanted to have a consent-based rape legislation. But if we didn't adopt it, what we thought back then became reality afterwards, that far-right groups have grown a lot. Anti-feminists have grown. Those who believe in patriarchal system, which is crazy that there are those that do 2025, but there are, and they have grown in the European Parliament among the far-right, but not only among the far-right. We see that the EPP group, the center-right party group, are leaning more and more towards the far-right when it comes to more and more important issues. Among others, climate. We see also on this issue of women's rights, SRHR, sexual reproductive health and rights. Now, this half year, as soon as we say abortion, even people in the EPP, most of them says no, and we don't have Frances in the EPP group anymore. So EPP is also leaning towards more and more to the far, in coalition with the far right. With this said, the legislations was a step forward, but also an election has happened, and with the elections means unfortunately has meant more far right anti-feminism and center right group who's leaning towards the far right. And I unfortunately think that we will, during this mandate, have a harsher time that we had the last mandate. So today is, of course, a day of celebration, but it is also a day of rolling up our sleeves. Thank you.
Thank you, Evin. Before maybe because you said you're gonna leave soon, maybe would you like to reflect on how we can collaborate better with you and within this climate of anti-gender growing within the parliament too? Or do you see the room of is there a space that we can make things better together with you and the progressive side in the parliament and with this EU anti-discrimination legislation too? I mean, if you wanna comment on that, I'll really appreciate it. Thank you.
So very short on the anti-discrimination legislation, that it was withdrawn. It was a bit of a surprise for all of us. I've been in contact with Commissioner Labib, who is in charge of it, her office, to understand what has happened. And their view was that it's been on the table for almost two decades. Nothing has happened. And in that sense, they're right. But on the other hand, I know that the current Polish presidency, the current Polish presidency has wanted to make a new try, the Danes have also said that they were interested in to try to push this forward. So I do not understand still why the Commissioner Labib then decided that she wants to withdraw it. I think it was very, 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 very unfortunate. However, they say, oh, it's not over. The member states and the parliament have the possibility from 6 months since it was announced to agree on something. Yeah, but everybody knows that since it's been blocked, it is a challenge, and that it's not just to agree on something. It is rather that they have withdrawn, and we would have needed more time to be able to agree on it. What we have demanded is that, okay, if it's going to be withdrawn, which it hasn't formally been yet before 6 months is passed since it was announced, they need to present something new. And I haven't heard what would be that something new for now, but it is very unfortunate with everything that is happening.
Exactly.
And then on the cooperation, I think, I mean, as we all know, both political and financial support has been withdrawn, but that doesn't mean that we should give up. It rather means that unfortunately we are thrown decades back in history, and if women back then could push it forward, and we will also be able to find our ways forward. But that demands that we, of course, as you also rightly pointed out, we need to cooperate much, much closer. Politics and civil society needs to cooperate much closer. I just want to also end with saying that what I have seen among some organizations are that some organizations do not want to, look like they take stand for one or the other party. So they almost become passive, and that's the most dangerous thing we can do. To reach out to politicians who are like-minded doesn't mean that you're voting for one or the other party. And in the end, if you cooperate with some, it means that those some that you cooperate with have the same view on you with you on those positions, and then people will always use that as, oh, you are belonging to that or that, but not be afraid of what we will be labeled as if we really want to be able to change the development.
Thank you so much, Evin. I mean, you gave the the big picture and how we can be a part of that picture together. Thanks a lot. And I think this is just a start. I mean, from what I have understood from all the contributions I heard, the challenge is bigger than we speak it out, and we need to speak even more. We need to collaborate even more from where we are standing. And you mentioned how labeling is, has an impact on this political and civil society arena. I mean, we have been discussing, and I was saying, I think it is time to enlarge our space, because the space is shrinking, and we need to push the space by reaching out to those that we haven't reached out until now. So it is not being in the comfort zone that we know the people, we know the ideologies, but we need to get out of our circles to bring more to the, more to our struggle, more to our collaboration. Thanks a lot, Evin. I know you have to go, but we wanted to have your insight and support. I would like to now give the floor to Esmeralda, but before giving the floor to Esmeralda, 8th of March has been very important, and not only for discussing, but to be on the ground, to be on the streets. I mean, rights, or this battle of creating the world without patriarchy has been very important, but it has never been a walk in the park. It has been a protest on the streets. Women if you want to achieve something, if you demand for your rights, you have to take it. So it has always been on the streets. It has always been reflected. And right now, unfortunately, for many years now, in Turkey as well, in many countries too, I guess it is not legally authorized. The right to peacefully assembly is not recognized. So I know that right now in Turkey, my colleagues are organizing peaceful, of course, march for 8th of March, but I don't know how it's going to take place, because it is not unfortunately recognized by the government. So it is very important to see it that way. And now I'll just want to see if she is there. Esmeralda, are you here with us? I mean, she will be connecting.
Yeah, hello,
Actually,
Freya.
yes, yeah, you'll be the voice from the street from Tirana. Thank you. The floor is yours,
Yes.
Esmeralda.
Thank you so much for having me today, and I'm so sorry that I'm not on a properly seated down. We at GADC today were part of the Fan Fest, and the idea was a installation related to the invisible and red shoes. I believe everybody knows what red shoes is. The red shoes initiated from several years ago in Spain. From 4 years is being organized in Albania too, and it's about the woman killed because they are women. And I've sent you, Aslihan, a short video of a installation where 3 actors on an open space with red shoes and empty chairs with practice of these women have mentioned the names of women killed in Albania just because they are women. And yes, you mentioned 8th March. Everybody has their own desire to protest, to march, or to celebrate the rights of women. But we choose that every 8th of March to be on the street. And today I'm from the installation going to the place where the march will start, symbolizing all those women, brave ones, who has reported any violence related to gender-based violence or domestic violence, and to advocate for the implementation of a stronger law. Just 2 days ago, we were listening the news that Italy has implemented some changes on the law. So if a man kills a woman just because she's a woman, then this man will go in prison for life. So this was a very good achievement, and I really hope that will be implemented properly even in other countries. Today with my colleagues are after me, and with Mirella that is waiting for us at the march, I'm really near it, is this one, just to give voice to those women who are voiceless. And when we speak for our rights, especially the new generation, they take it for granted. They forget how long and for how many years women in the world has fought to have these rights today. So nothing is for granted, and to keep the rights that we have in Albania, in Balkans, or even around the world, we have to speak and we have to work every day. And you know, those women who are, I mean, a little bit stronger and who have the possibility to raise the voice, we should do that for those women who really don't have that power. They do not have the power to speak or to the power to advocate or to be involved on the fight for their rights. As you may see, I'm going to this protest. It's a march. It's a peaceful march, in fact, and it's several women and girls mostly. There are not so much men that should be here, but there are women and girls. We will be gathered here. It's a main square somewhere in Tirana, and we will do this, just march near institutions and discuss with each other. It's a crazy traffic in Tirana today because, as I have mentioned, today there are women who prefer to celebrate, and that's good. It's nothing against it, but we have to remember that March 8th is not for granted. There are a lot of women and girls who have fought to have this, what we have today.
Thank you so much, Esmeralda. You gave me goosebumps. I mean, I'm very, emotional. Like, I know 8th of March is banned in Turkey. Like, any meeting, demonstrations, press releases, distribution of leaflets, or sit-ins are all banned for 24 hours. But I know our feminists will do the night march as well. So I'm looking forward to getting good news from them. But it will be a tough day in Turkey, I know. But it's lovely to hear the inspiration from Tirana comes to our countries from wherever we are, and I know it will happen globally. Thank you so much for the solidarity.
Thank you very much,
Kisses. Kisses. So I mean, I'll just continue with the second round. We are a little bit over time, but I will be happy to give each speaker a couple of more minutes, like 3 minutes or how long as ever we have. I think 20 more minutes to go. But if anyone would like to reflect, they can also take the floor after their contributions. Now let's talk about what we can do. As civil society organizations or as individuals, how we can continue within this climate. How we can continue rising on the streets, on the tables, with equal representation, or however you would like to define it. So we are looking forward to your perspectives on how we can deal this new era altogether against anti-gender atmosphere, and about how we can have a future with gender equality advancement. Please, I'll give the floor with the same order if it's okay. Selma, would you like to reflect on it?
Yes. What I'm hoping that current anti-gender movements will do is provide a contra effect. I'm hoping that we will use this current hate toward women, I don't know how else to call it, as a fuel, not to give up on the fight. Somebody mentioned earlier that a lot of us have gotten complacent because we have the right to vote, we have the right to education, we have the right to work, but that does not mean that the equality has been achieved. We are so far from it. So I'm hoping that we will get mad again and that we will go out on the streets regularly every time a woman's right has been endangered, every time we are witnesses to discrimination, that we will not sit around like silent witnesses, but that it will raise the anger. and that it will make us go out on the streets and demand changes. We are seeing what is happening with the laws when we are demanding from our officials to take a stand to make changes. Yes, they adopt new laws. And what we are seeing is they are concerned with the public opinion. We do have voices. We just have to continue fighting for the rights. We have to continue organizing protest marches. And it's interesting to me how every speaker that mentioned a protest mentioned peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. We're going to be peaceful. We're going to be nice. We're going to be women. We're not going to make any trouble. I don't see anything wrong with us making trouble. If there weren't women before us who were making trouble, we wouldn't be talking about these topics today. We need to keep applying pressures to institutions. We need to start talking about these topics with young children. We shouldn't be talking only to women. We shouldn't be talking only to girls. We should be talking just as much to the boys and men. We need to raise awareness that gender equality is not just an issue for women. We need to make this world that we live in understand that women's rights are human rights, and it is absolutely unacceptable for us, for any of us, to live in a society where comments to the news that a woman has been viciously murdered. Oh, we don't know what was happening in that family. She chose him. No, we need to achieve that the world we live in is equally shocked by every murder that happens, by every beating, by the fact that we only have 10 to 20% women representatives in the government. All of that needs to make us react. And not just on Facebook, not just on social media, but in the real world. We need to be seen in the streets fighting for our rights. So that's it for me for now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Selma. I mean, you gave the further inspiration followed with Esmeralda. We need to go to the streets, right? I mean, it is time to ask for the space. It is our space. We ask the space to be feminist. We ask the space that we have already fought for. Thanks a lot. I'll now give the floor to Dushica. I think it's your place, please.
Yes, thank you, Aslihan. I will start with something what I want to say in the end, because I'm very happy and proud to say that over the last 4 months we have witnessed in Serbia a huge social movement initiated by our fantastic young generation of women and men alike, students, which affects all social and age groups, which awake us and gives us hope for a better and more just society in the near future. They are not anger, they are very positive and peaceful in their intention, marching from one to another place in Serbia. Every day they are on the street supported with other people. So this is one positive movement which we are witnessing. I hope that you will understand and that they will that will have some positive results in our society. And after that, and what I want to say before was how Association of Businesswomen in Serbia is fighting for women economic empowerment rights, which was the one of two key areas of intervention for improvement of gender equality in the areas in our area, as it was mentioned before, as one of the results of mentioned research. So our association I think that these areas where gender equality has a future are and where women should receive support in developing their businesses. These are very concrete intention, and the special attention is also paid to women in remote areas and rural women and Roma women. I mean, in a project which are running as a partner association of business women in Serbia, and most of them are devoted in the fields of STEM, digital, and green transition. There is a future of women entrepreneurs and all women around. So there are some 5 or 6 projects international where these collaborative efforts from many European states are happening and which targeted support for female entrepreneurs aiming to create a more equitable and sustainable business environment. And also the second intervention which was mentioned is about raising awareness among young women and girls and breaking stereotypes in is also an important mission of the association, which has been implemented for 14 years now through the activities of the projects marking the Day of Girls in ICT. And more than 10,000 girls were involved during these years, and the results shows that girls' interest in recognizing entrepreneurship, especially in ICT, as a possible future place of employment, brought this kind of real meetings with entrepreneurs. But organization of civil society could not be acting alone, so we can conclude that investment in systemic changes is necessary, including strengthening legal protection, transforming social norms, educating men and young people about gender equality, and empowering women in sphere of society. So only through these multi-sectoral efforts we can in society be certain in which women have equal opportunities and the rights to a dignified life. That's from me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is, I mean, I think you gave the brilliant example of the youth, rising in Serbia on the streets. We had that experience in Turkey, and still we are paying the price for it. But it still gives us hope with the Gezi Park protests, and I see this, the other way around, like how this can be actually changing a society. I hope Serbia will have the better example, and you will follow up on the the steps of this democratic rising. And then also you mentioned this multi-sectoral, like this environment and the climate space, and also the ICT and digitalization, digital transformation, how this has an impact on creating more space for women and gender equality to have a further creation of space that we can enlarge our capacities, and this multi-sectoral approach that gives us more power, that gives us more strength, and that gives us more space. I think when you have also raised the issue of funding, I think we also have this, I want to reflect on it in a different angle. We know that many countries, like those main donors, let's say, or for the funding creation, like the US aid and Holland, and I know with Sweden too, we have some unfortunate experience, the space for civil society funding is shrinking. But now I think we need to find different ways of, looking for partners, looking for philanthropists, or I don't know, different ways of finding support for our actions. So we need to be more creative maybe in this sense. So, and we will be, I think, collaborating and brainstorming around this further within wherever we stand, and we will bring those ideas together with pleasure. So now I'll give the floor to
thank you, Aslihan, for wrapping up this what I said. But I just to comment that yes, luckily these projects are financed from EU, and Serbia is paid membership in all these programs.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
is,
in some cases, Dushusa, this is a very good example. Thanks a lot. Like still, European Union is recognized as a positive donor, but in some countries, civil society is attacked because of the funding that they receive from European Union too. Or different there are different stories, but it is, I think, important to highlight European Union is a very good partner in this, and many member states should see their role is getting more important in supporting civil society, not only in financial but in the political means, for solidarity, for collaboration in politics to tackle anti-gender and further elevate gender equality in our region and globally. Thanks a lot. And I'll now give the floor to Maya. Maya, please, looking forward to your reflections.
It's hard when you come after someone else who's already said something that you wanted to say. Yeah, but anyways, I agree with both Selma and Dušica saying that we still have to work and we still have to fight for what, I mean, regardless of what we have done so far. Of course, we have to, we already spoke that we have many changes and much progress on paper, but we have to advocate for full implementation of what we have on paper. That we need to see that in practice as well, not just written on paper. That is really most important thing that we have to do. We have to increase and enhance awareness and education, and of course involve men and boys in gender equality dialogues, because if they are not involved, if we exclude them and we talk only to women, of course we will maybe strengthen women's capacities, but then on the other hand we will have again counterparts that do not have anything to do with this. So we have to include and involve men and boys in these discussions, and give them an option not to support anti-gender movement, but to support gender equality actually in the society. And it is also very important for us, and that we have seen through all these years of work, economic empowerment of women. That is really very important, and that is something that I know Dušica and the Association of Business Women in Serbia work to support women entrepreneurs. We also have such organizations here in North Macedonia, and they also do similar work. But of course, we have to support them and we have to work together. And that is, I think, that is the most important thing. We have to work together, because together we are stronger. If we work on our own and we only support our own causes, then probably we will make some progress sometime. But working together is actually most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya. I think you also raised the issue, very directly, fulfilling the gaps. So it is very important to be together. But what is together? Together is more than who we are already together with, but it is bring more to the table too, so that we are stronger and our voice is heard from different, and echoes from different perspective, from different corners of the policy making, of the action, of the implementation. You also raise the importance of implementation, but I also heard from what you have said, it's not about only on the paper, but it's about how we monitor those who are obliged to make what is written on legislation reality. So it's the role of monitoring and watchdog role of civil society is getting even more important. And there I think it is we have more Freja Forum has more to do. Before giving just the final wrap up, I think we don't have Esmeralda with us anymore, but I think she's marching for us and giving the voice of Freya there on the streets too, for gender equality, for women's rights, not only for 8th of March, but like every day in Serbia that they are doing. No, I mean, like walking from one space to another with the youth. I just want to thank you all for your contributions, for your inspirations, for your, bigger hearts and bigger actions than it is visible to everyone's eyes, but it is very much heard and felt within this cooperation in Freja Forum. And I would also like to highlight once again the importance of creating this. We have been discussing this shrinking space for women's rights, gender equality, the rise of the anti-gender and the importance. But then I think it's important to, get even more united. Those with our collaboration can get stronger with those who are less represented, those communities, including women in rural areas, women in the war situation, migrant women, Roma women, it was also mentioned by you, LGBTI plus individuals, and those who are not represented should be more visible within our networks, and who we should be the voice together. We cannot be their voice, but we can give them space to say what they need to say. So, and it is also important that we need to be aware of the situation as well. Since COVID and even before, our region has experienced many wars, and now we are in the situation of war and militarization. The money the funding that is cut is actually going to security. War, it goes to weapons. It goes to more. To destroying peace rather than creating peace. So it is important to link our activities when we understand where this funding is going, where they are cutting funding from us, it goes to war. So it is important to be aware of that. And finally, I think it is not only about talking or not only about the war on paper, but it is a struggle in our daily life. It's a struggle in the hearts. It's a struggle on our work on the streets. So the visibility, the dissemination of what you are doing, what we are doing individually or all together is even more important today. We need to be more together. We need to bring more to the table, more people, that we share the resources together. We create a support mechanism to for your actions on the ground, for our mutual actions all together. So this I call this with the end, like, for more solidarity, but also for more concrete steps and strategize together for the good, for gender equality, for the advancement of gender equality. Now I'll give the floor to you, Margareta. Thank you all. There is a lot of struggle on the ground, but we are here. I have the hope to move forward with this inspiration from all of you. Thank you. Please.
Thank you so much, Asli, and thank you for being the moderator, and thank you for making this so great, and thanks to all the panel and to every part that has been so useful, and a lot of knowledge from all of you, and we got a very good picture of what is happening and what we can expect also from the future concerning all the things that is coming up now. I would like to say that except that we now get a better situation, get a better view of the situation, I would like to remind you that we are going to go on with this discussion in the festival, the Democratic Festival, in the end of June, with the Freja Forum, 24th to 27th of June. Some of us will be in Sweden and participate in the festival, but we will also have digital seminars and discuss everything. So that is a very, very good opportunity to go on this discussion in the network of Freja Forum. And as Aslian said, everywhere else also go on, discuss this, and also be very active, because that is the only way we can get any progress. So, and I want to underline what Evin said. One thing that is very, very important, and I have seen it myself, that this is now happening. Don't mix the opportunity by having an opinion about the democracy and women's rights. That is not party politics. Some people say that that is party politics. It's not. It's about democracy, equal opportunities, and human rights. And don't forget that. Thank you so much for this fantastic, enormous, interesting day we have had so far. Go out and go on celebrating now so we can meet soon again. Thank you so much. Thank you and bye.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
Have a
you.
nice
Bye.
8th of March.
Bye.
Bye.